ropes, a World War II Army drill hall, a 1960s Dodge DeSoto, a presidential bathtub, heated sidewalks, and a horse farm with a ski lift? What do all of these have in common? Why, they're all part of Laker lore. Welcome to the secret study of Dr. E.A. Sheldon. Within these four walls, myths are dispelled, truths revealed. Many legends have surfaced on the SUNY Oswego campus over the past century and a half. Among them, stories involving ice volcanoes, a haunted spot within Waterman Theater, and a sculpture constructed from donated pennies, just to name a few. Do you have the knowledge to distinguish between fact and fiction? We shall soon see. It's a long-held belief that a system of rope handrails were once in place all across campus to keep students from literally blowing away from the winds on Lake Ontario. In the 1970s, students spoke of a notorious trail that led students along a series of pathways that included a narrow footbridge connecting Tyler Hall and Seneca Hall. Students from that era have described these ropes as thicker than any conventional rope they had ever seen, threaded through thick metal stakes driven deep within the ground. There have been eyewitness accounts of students being pinned against fences by gale-force winds blowing from Lake Ontario. Is the legend of the ropes true or false? False, mostly. However, to be fair, it is worth mentioning that there were, in fact, a small set of ropes temporarily installed by the bridge over a small gorge between Seneca Hall and Tyler Hall in the 1970s. The ropes were in place strictly as a precaution for construction work that was going on in the area, and they were removed within a few months. With that said, this is one legend that seems forever tied to the campus. On a bright April morning in 1970, a Dodge DeSoto dating back to the early 1960s found its way onto the SUNY Oswego campus. And even though it hasn't been spotted in over 40 years, it remains on the grounds to this day. Is the legend of this vanishing vehicle true or false? It's actually true. April 22, 1970, marked the very first Earth Day across the United States. To celebrate the event, SUNY Oswego students dragged a gas-guzzling DeSoto onto campus, filled it with litter, then proceeded to bury it near the main entrance of the campus. The burial symbolized the waste and pollution caused by the automobile industry. Environmentalism was one of the many social and political causes that the student body would embrace during this turbulent decade. It's common knowledge that the SUNY Oswego campus gets more than its fair share of snow, which is often measured in feet, not inches.
We shouldn't really complain about the weather out here, because back east, did you see in a town called Oswego, New York? You from back there? I guess, is it close to Buffalo? Oswego? Well, since last Saturday, they have had 53 inches of snow. Yeah. And the mayor of Oswego ordered salt to be spread on the streets, but it was taking time because Oswego is a very small town. And the only salt was a guy in town who was a fry cook at a restaurant, had a salt shaker. And he's out working on the streets, but it's going to take a lot of time down there. There was a joke there, but it got snowed in on the way to Oswego.
To battle these wintry elements, it's been said that campus officials issued an order that called for heating equipment to be installed underneath some of the sidewalks in order to melt the ice and snow. Is this legend true or false? False. No such sidewalks were ever or have ever been constructed on campus. But for those who insist the legend is true, it's been theorized that the reason the heated sidewalks don't work is because the contractor inadvertently poured wet concrete over the control panels during the installation. At least, that's the story I heard. Bathtubs come in all shapes and sizes, and as legend has it, one extremely large bathtub existed on the SUNY Oswego campus at one time, created specifically for President William Howard Taft. Standing 6'2" and weighing over 300 pounds, it's been well documented that Taft had a special bathtub in the White House built specifically to accommodate his girth. So, is the legend of the presidential bathtub true or false? It's true. Nearly 50 years ago, the widow of an influential businessman donated her home and all of its contents to the campus. The businessman had been a friend of former President Taft and often had him over to his house for extended periods. When the college officials entered the home, they found a huge bathtub that was indeed installed specifically for President Taft. But hold on, because this piece of Laker lore ends with an interesting twist. Why? Because the home also contained presidential papers located in the basement. 2 wooden trunks containing more than 10,000 letters were found. To everyone's surprise, the papers weren't those of Taft, but rather President Millard Fillmore. Those papers now reside in Penfield Library's archives, making Oswego the not widely known home of a presidential library. Horses and ski lifts. 2 things that most of us wouldn't think belong together. But according to the campus grapevine, there was a time when they stood side by side at SUNY Oswego. So, is this horse of a different color true or false? Well, if you guessed true, you can call yourself a sage of SUNY Oswego. Today, the Fallbrook Recreational Center serves as the school's official retreat. But back in the late 1960s, this beautiful setting was home to the SUNY Co-op Equestrian Program. A large metal pole barn at Fallbrook housed an enclosed riding arena with a dozen stalls. If you look closely, you can still see the remains of several horse jumps in the North Meadow. During this period, Fallbrook also operated a motorized rope tow on the hillside to provide students with a convenient lift for skiing and sledding during the snowy Oswego winters. By 1980, both the horses and the ski lift would become part of Laker lore. But that hasn't stopped the thousands of sledding enthusiasts who still continue to make the climb on foot to the top of the slope after the first snowfall. Our final piece of Laker lore involves the supposed existence of a disguised World War II airplane hangar that not only served the campus for 42 years, but also contained a zoo? The hangar legend is false, but wait. In the early 1960s, the campus purchased part of a World War II-era drill hall from Sampson Air Force Base with the express purpose of using it to house an ice arena for the future men's hockey team. The drill hall was disassembled, loaded onto trucks, then later reassembled south of Route 104. When it opened in 1964, it was officially named Romney Fieldhouse, in honor of Golden Romney, longtime chair of the Physical Education Department. Over the next 4 decades, it would become one of the most difficult places for a road team to win a hockey game. That's thanks in part to an extremely boisterous student section known affectionately as the Romney Zoo. These legends are but a few that live and breathe within the halls and along the paths of the shores of Lake Ontario. Over the course of the next century and a half, new legends will certainly emerge to become pieces of fabric in the ever-growing patchwork quilt of SUNY Oswego's storied history. And that is Laker lore. Thank you, and good night.